So this palace was called Zintu Hoang A Tuong, the Palace of Hoang A Tuong. As I told you, it is a symbol of the extreme power in this region, especially during the time of French colonization. Here. And Hoang A Tuong, Hoang Yunchiars, the father, and Hoang A Tuong is a son who was the To, or the chief town of this province, for a very long time. And they had this palace built from 1914 until 1921 to completion. And we have a palace like this. It is a palace with truly unique architecture. It is a blend of Western and Eastern architectural styles, obviously. And first of all, you can clearly make out from time to time from here to the end of this palace. So even at the entrance, as you can already see over there, with the arched doors like these are proof of Oriental architecture. And then the two staircases on either side, that's obviously a way of decorating symmetrically. So here it's an Oriental style. And above all, this part of the palace was designed according to the rules of Oriental feng shui. That's because the palace is located on the top of a small hill here, with its back resting against a little mountain behind. And in front of the palace, there's a lake. So the back is the mountain, and the front faces the water. So right there, you already have the balance between the yin and the yang. And that's why Hoang Yunchao and Hoang Ha Tuong later said that this is a good location for building this palace in order to maintain family happiness and the utmost power of one's social status during that era. And now we are going to decipher everything inside this palace. Please follow me. Before entering the palace, let's stop right here to look at the walls. So the palace was built as a kind of fortress. Obviously, a fortress meant for the family's defense. That's why on the walls around this palace, there are loopholes like these here. You see, it's because it was during a period full of chaos with many uprisings among the population and with various activities. Rural warriors from the country resisted against French colonization. That's why when he worked for the French at that time, he had to protect himself in this way. So now we are going to go up to enter inside this palace. Right there at the main entrance. Did you happen to see it there? Above, there is the amak of feng shui. It's yin and yang, so they always relied on Eastern feng shui. It's the balance between yin and yang. So now we're going to enter the courtyard, the main one. There you go. And inside like this, did you see all the houses are these buildings are constructed in the traditional shape of a perfect square with residential houses built exactly like this one, featuring many rooms surrounding a large central courtyard. So on the main facade, you will also find architectural elements like these beautifully decorated arched doors. And then you can see the intricate characters taken from traditional Chinese playing cards. And above all, the decoration on each pillar, each column. The columns obviously are of Western architecture. And the decoration with grape leaves, with grape clusters, with things like that. So you find exactly that here with Oriental elements. But inside you will find even more things. These are things with an Oriental touch here. Upstairs, you can find over there are many rooms. The room over there houses the main administration of this region, where Hoang Yunqiao and Hoang He Tuong worked. And on both sides, there are rooms for the family. And on both sides of the street, there are many traditional houses featuring various rooms where the local mandarins or officials reside. French officers at the time for appointments for the French colonization during that period. And now we are going to go inside to see what it's like. Here in the main hall, there are still many objects, many pieces of furniture that have existed since that era. That means since 1921, the year this palace was inaugurated. And on the wall, there are still, of course, photos of the family. And then, apart from that, in the ceremonial part, the most solemn part of this house, there is a lounge like this. This is where Hoang Yuanqiao and Hoang A Tuong received guests. But there is another thing. They always preserved what was traditional to their ethnic groups. That's because Hoang Yuanqiao and Hoang A Tuong are from ethnic minorities. They were people of the Thai ethnic group at that time. But Hoang Yuanqiao married a young woman from the Hmong ethnic group. There are still many fascinating historical artifacts and antique objects from the generations of this particular family left behind. There are plenty of remarkably well-preserved things that still remain today from the distant year of 1921. For example, the floor, it was made with tiles, with bricks that obviously came from far away. If I may say so, these are bricks from the French colonial era, obviously, like this. But I think that was it. The original tiling from a long time ago, it was like that. And then besides that, in the hallway and the other part of the house, they've already changed with many other tiles and different decorations. That was completely redone shortly after. There are several detailed reconstructions of these very old remains. And this specific room was quite obviously the primary bedroom of the owner. In these rooms, they have displayed materials that were used in the past. For example, the tiles, the bricks, and especially the roof tiles. These are terracotta tiles and what are called inayant tiles. There are always two parts, the concave part and the convex part. They put them like this is to make it watertight, to build the roof of the house, for example. There you go, like that. And even now, the tiles in this Bac Ha region and in other regions in northern Vietnam, they still use this type of tile. These are old and traditional tiles. That's it. And the terracotta bricks are the same. And what you saw today, that was the renovation just a few months ago. Otherwise, this is the image. The old one, it was like this in 1999, with colors that obviously reflect the passage of time. More than 100 years have passed and the color has changed. And that's why we just put another layer of coating on top. And then we have today's image. It's like this. And moreover, the Hoang A Tuong Palace has now become a major tourist attraction in Bac Ha. As I told you, Bac Ha is known not only for its markets, but also for this, with this truly very, very special architecture, which is what you've seen so far. It's a blend of two different architectural styles, Eastern and Western. And there you have it. This is what it's like inside the Hoang A Tuong Palace. And now the family's former workrooms are being used today as small shops to showcase the handicrafts made by the local people here. So please come with me. Here, we wanted to introduce you to the batik art of the Hmong people from this region. Here, this is a kind of traditional fabric with decorations that are truly typical of the Hmong ethnic group in this region. And here they have used The way of making batik with a biowax is dyed with indigo blue, which is really very beautiful. You can easily use small pieces like this to make fabrics, to make clothes, to make bags, and so on. And then, with all kinds of traditional fabrics like this, they are dyed in several different colors. And then it was woven by themselves. From hemp. And then after that, of course, there are still many other things left for you. These are products typical of the Alkai region, mainly made of clay, especially with little ceramic animals and water pipes. Here, this is a kind of water pipe. This is also a tradition here, smoking. It's about smoking tobacco. We put the tobacco in here with a pipe like this. And that's how we smoke. In our local region, there are actually several different ways of smoking tobacco. For instance, one traditional method involves using a very long pipe, which is carefully handcrafted out of natural bamboo. And here is a kind of other pipes. It's a pipe like this. I don't know how to say it in French, but anyway. But there's another thing. In this region, for a long time, they have cultivated a lot of poppy. That's why smoking poppy as well has been something very notable here for a long time. But now that's over because opium has been banned in our country. And in this room, we display something else as well. For example, these are utensils, these are work tools. And here, this is for hulling rice. And all of this is to put on the backs of horses. And all of these are rubber pads like this to put on the back for going to work in the fields. And here you have the plow. And all of these are stone mills. And here, this is a harrow, for example. This specific equipment is used for the harrowing of large plots of land just before the delicate process of transplanting the young rice plants begins. And in this room, we also present some traditional fabrics from the ethnic group, especially from the Hmong ethnic group, with the batik tree, with beeswax. And here it's a kind of still. And here it's a kind of still mainly for distilling corn alcohol. It's simply for display like this. But otherwise, on this side, you can clearly see how they work with the loom. It's truly traditional and operated by an old lady from the Hmong ethnic group. So hemp was cultivated in the regions, and then afterwards they processed all of it. They recounted, removed the skin from the plant, and then made thread from it. And then afterwards, with the loom like this, with this way of working, they made the fabrics that you saw. And then here, that's the natural color. Otherwise, you have to dye it with indigo. And indigo is a small plant that grows close to the ground, so they also planted it for dyeing. Their fabric, of course. And all of this, in these rooms, you are shown all kinds of patterns and different decorations on traditional fabrics, especially from the Hmong ethnic group in this region. This, for example, is really very beautiful. It's a pillowcase. You can find it in the deep and vibrant shades of indigo. And the Hmong, like other ethnic groups in the north, in the northwestern part of our country, have used a lot of very bright colors like red, yellow, and so on. That's because red, in Vietnamese culture in general, symbolizes life, prosperity, and happiness. That's why they have used a lot of red. We can move on now to another part in the back. As I told you earlier, the house, the palace, was built as a defensive post. That's why there is a whole kind of underground tunnel to be able to exit the palace in case of emergency. So I'll show you right away. And underneath, of course, underneath the stairs, they built water storage areas here. This was to store water here, to have drinking water. And this part here was the back wall of the palace. And here you also have the entrance to a tunnel. Here it's the door to an escape tunnel in case of need. So you could easily go through here to exit the palace and go into the forest behind. But today, there aren't many forests around anymore. But in the past, of course, in the early years of the last century, this whole region was surrounded by primeval forests. That's why when leaving the palace, they would immediately find themselves in the forest. That's why it was quite possible to escape easily. So now we will move on to the house next door, which has now been transformed into a local products exhibition hall. As I mentioned earlier, this part used to be the annex of the palace, which has been turned into a small shop. Its purpose is to showcase local products to you, especially items like seeds, medicinal plants, and so on. And also, please take a look at these small, brightly colored bags featuring the intricate and typical decorations of the Hmong ethnic group who live in this region. And especially right next to it, there is a dedicated room to show you the traditional art of distilling local corn alcohol. It is a very fascinating process to witness. There you go, enjoy the view. As I already explained to you earlier, inside there is a kind of still made out of wood. And then here you have a very, very, very large jar like this. It's used to cook the corn. And then after that, you have to take it out of there. And then you need to add the stimulant so that it stimulates. It stimulates. Now, let me show you the stimulant. It's this right here. Here, this is the stimulant for the mixture. So after that, you have to mix it with corn that's already well boiled, well cooked, like this. And then you have to wrap it up tightly so that the corn gets stimulated. There you go. It's fermented, and after a certain number of days, then what? You have to put it in there and do the distillation, and that's how you get corn alcohol. And corn alcohol, of course, in Bac Ha, it's one of the conveniences. It's really very renowned, not only here in Bac Ha, but in almost all the provinces of northern Vietnam. You can clearly see there are always jars, small ones, big ones, for storing rice alcohol. And here the corn, of course, has been well harvested and preserved in this way. And over there you have peanuts. But the peanuts from this region are really very special as well. You can see the skin of the peanuts. These are what we typically refer to as distinctive peanuts with mottled skin. They're really very sweet and have a very special quality. And they're sold at a high price even here. And the fruits look like this. And the seeds inside look like this. It's really interesting. And then besides that, in this room, we also show you the little fish traps, the fish cages made of woven bamboo. And then apart from that, the trays, like these here. These are the traditional little fish cages, those intricate little traps that are carefully made in the authentic Hmong style. And then you also have the trays, which can also be woven. Here are the trays, they're for putting everything together. Everyone gathers around this tray for meals. And besides that, you also have some musical instruments, the Ken, the Hmong ones, the gourds, which are mainly used to hold alcohol, of course. Here are the gourds made from squash, the skin of the squash. There you go. And the brooms, they're really interesting. They're handmade. So in the Bac Ha region and in many other villages in the northwest part of our country, especially among the ethnic groups, they still maintain this kind of lifestyle to this day. For foreign tourists, you can really discover and understand all of this by coming to visit this region, especially Bac Ha. Alongside the markets and the truly unique architecture of the Hoang A Tuong Palace, there is also the indigenous life of the ethnic minorities in this region. So now we are going to leave the Hoang A Tuong Palace to go do something else. We've already had a full day visiting Bac Ha this morning. Since 5 o'clock in the morning, we've been at the Buffalo Market, and then the Can Cau Market, and then the Hoang A Tuong Palace. And after a short rest at noon, we now have another cultural activity of the ethnic populations. Here in Bac Ha, it's the horse race. So now I invite you to come with me to take part in this horse race in Bac Ha, please. It's a very, very special cultural activity. So organizing all every Saturday afternoon, every week. There you have it. That's how the horse race in Bac Ha is. So as you saw, it was really very, very lively. And the people from this region really enjoyed all of it. And this one here, he has already participated a lot in the races, so he's already quite tired. But I think he's quite happy to have at least brought in third place. So the day of visiting Bac Ha has come to an end. So tonight we will spend the night with the Nung family here in the Nakhim Hamlet area, Bac Ha district. And for tonight, this couple will also prepare a traditional meal from the Nung community here for us. So this is the house where we will spend the night. Hello, hello. I actually came over here specifically to invite you to come and eat a meal with us today. Thank you so much. So, as you can see, that is exactly how warmly and kindly they have welcomed us here. And we spent the night here in a house with typical Nung architecture in this region. Here you go, please. To eat with sticky rice in several colors, but usually it's 5 colors. However, what they've made today is only 3 colors. But the main colors for sticky rice during festival days, among the Nung people, for example, represent the 5 elements that make up the universe. That's why today, with just the 3 colors, simply the 3, we're going to have a kind of smoked buffalo meat. Here, this is a large piece of buffalo meat. Smoked, it's already as hard as wood. But to be able to eat it, we're going to let it cook over the fire like this. And then you really have to bury this piece of meat in the hot ashes like this. And then afterwards, I'll let it cook to show you how smoked buffalo meat is eaten. There you go, please. After putting the piece of meat in the hot ashes like this, you have to leave it there for a while. And then afterwards, they'll take it out to do something else so that the meat becomes tender enough to eat. There you go. You can clearly see what they're doing. And that's it, everyone. The smoked buffalo was already well prepared. I invite you to come and taste it with me. There you go. How delicious it is. It's so flavorful. Well, that is exactly what a typical meal looks like.